L. Johnson Show. This is your place where conversations with leaders are shaping the future of work. We are continuing on our leadership series today, and I'm extremely excited to do that. Philly, what's good? Listen, I was running around the city today. Everybody was really calm. Flyers up, sixes down, but everybody was really calm. And I appreciate that when my city is calm because I know how we get. So if you're tuned in on 106.5 FM WPPM Philly, thank you for rocking with us today. I appreciate it. South Philly, North Philly, West Philly, even everybody over in South Jersey and Camden. Thank you so very much for locking in with the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. We do this each and every Monday at 2 p.m., and I'm excited to do it with you today. We are continuing our leadership series, and we're talking about how you build high-performing teams. One of the reasons I'm excited today is because we're welcoming Lawrence Griffith to the show. So with that being said, it's going to be a great conversation. We do conversations to shape the future of work, and this man is definitely shaping the future of work. So I'm excited to have Lawrence Griffith on the show today. And if you're on LinkedIn, watch the live stream. We appreciate you. Hey, listen, everybody on LinkedIn, I want to lock in and talk about something over there real quick. A lot of people have been chiming in on some of the radio show stuff, saying that I wasn't shouting out our LinkedIn viewers. I apologize. That's probably the same for the people that are streaming globally. I got to keep y'all connected too and locked in. So I feel like I'm neglecting y'all. I promise I will make some changes and shout out all the people that are listening to the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Not just my people here in Philadelphia, but the people on LinkedIn and the people on the stream. I appreciate you. All right. Here's the deal, right? There's a lot going on in the world of work right now. Every organization talks about performance, but the real question is, how do leaders actually build teams that execute, stay aligned, and hold each other accountable? That's the question that we're going to talk about today. Joining me today is Lawrence Griffith, founder and CEO of Digital Factory, a technology leader with over 20 years of experience leading innovation and emerging initiatives for enterprise work, but global brands Lawrence has supported consistently. Lawrence, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Man, look, we appreciate having you here today, man. Look, I just gave a quick shout out about who you were as CEO of Digital Factory and why you're here dealing with the leadership series on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. But please tell our audience a little snippet about yourself.
Yeah, so MBA, finance, Loyola, Chicago, which kind of sort of set the stage. I've started 4 companies. I've exited all 4 successfully. A couple of things you would know that I've done. If any of you have ever scanned a coupon from your cell phone in the grocery store, I invented that software. If you've ever tapped to pay for something, I also invented that software as well in partnership with Nokia. Then Apple Pay shortly came after that. So I've spent a long time in brand management for large consumer packaged goods companies. Spent a long time in tech innovation, working with brands like Lipton, Dove, Ragu, Ben & Jerry's, P&G, and others. So I've been at this for a little while.
Well, we appreciate you being at this on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, that's for sure. Look, I like to jump right into it here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. So it's the leadership series. I want you to tell us about a leadership moment in your career that kind of changed how you lead today.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I started my first company when I was 18, sold it for $500,000 about 3 months before my 21st birthday. And that was mainly because I had 3 amazing mentors. One brother by the name of Clarence Avant, God rest his soul, Mr. Edwin Rigaud, former P&G guy, and another guy by the name of Ross Love, who was another P&G guy. The point is that back then, the advice that they gave me was essentially this: you cannot be emotional, which we all are. I mean, it's part of the human experience, and be focused at the same time. And success and leadership requires focus. It requires absolute focus. Focus is what allows you to think through the details, think through problems, but more importantly, though, focus allows you to come up with solutions. So that I think that was really a pivotal moment for me.
Okay, so the moment with your mentors kind of setting you down and saying, "Hey, listen, these are the pillars that you need to kind of lead with."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Focus more than anything else. You have to put your ego and emotions aside completely.
So you spoke a little bit about, some of the accomplishments, right? But let's kind of shift over to this side of the table. What did you learn about leading people versus managing the outcomes? You spoke about some of your outcomes, outstanding, kudos. But I know you had some people on board with you.
Yeah, I think what I know in leading people, you first have to understand who they are. And I think, in your world, you call that the interviewing stage where you really sort of get to know folks. What makes them tick? Uh, what is their belief system? In essence, what are their principles? If you can understand a person's principles, then you understand that person. And if you can understand that person, then you can understand then you begin to understand how to best lead them. Look, leadership is about basically this. You serve people based on the need of those who have chosen to follow you. But you have to understand what their needs are first, right? And people choose to follow you. You don't make them follow you. That is the basic premise of leadership.
Foundationally, that is such great advice. Literally the other side of that equation, having people that believe and want to follow you, extremely important to the success of a leader. I appreciate that. For professionals that are listening now, Lawrence, that aspire to leadership roles, what is one move they should make? I don't know, let's say in the next 12 months to position themselves to build and lead high performing teams?
So I think the first step is to get you a mentor, right? Whether you are in a corporate environment, whether you are an entrepreneur, uh, and it doesn't matter whether you are, in a management position, middle management, lower management, or not a management position at all. Get you a mentor, someone who is already doing what you're doing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with the same company, it could be a retired person. My mentors, interestingly enough, I wrote them a handwritten note. Set yourself apart. People are emailing all the time. Handwritten notes go very, very far these days. They do. So get you a mentor. That's number one. Number two, begin to educate yourself on leadership. There's a woman that I respect by the name of Guinea Clark, who has a master class on leadership. Whether you're reading a book or maybe you're not a reader, maybe your thing is so much more of an audio book sort of model, but educate yourself. And then third, and this is very important, begin to lead organically, meaning whether it is uh, you know, making decisions or practicing leadership principles with friends, within your family structure, within your work environment. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to be a leader in order to lead. We become what we practice. So practice leadership. So those are the things that I would sort of say.
We had Christopher Martin on the show last week for the Executive Leadership Series. He's president and CEO of the Weekly Savings Bank. And he spoke about the importance of learning. He said velocity learning at that, right? It's going really fast right now. And people are going to have to learn and then relearn to be effective and impactful, leading maybe younger teams that need to understand the information rapidly. And so he needs to keep up with them just to be able to lead effectively. What skills or mindset shifts are most critical right now for you? Do you see that leaders kind of need to have in this space we're working in?
Yeah, I think the mindset shifts here that are important for me is really beginning to understand the new communication, as I call it, or the new culture of this new generation, right? It's important to really begin to understand that. I think on top of that, leaders are consistent, right? And consistency is some of the way you can show consistency is by and we've lost this art, writing things down, right? I write voraciously, and I'm not a writer, but I schedule and I write things down. Some of those things turn into what I call objectives. Create objectives. Once you create a line of objectives and you begin to share those objectives with those folks who have chosen to follow you, it really sort of becomes a game changer because it lets people know that this person has made some sound decisions. They're decisions that that person has thought about, but they did something I didn't do. They wrote them down. I'm aligned with those objectives because once you begin to do that, you begin to understand who is aligned and who isn't. I think that this current uh, sort of generation, if you will, within the past, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, they're looking for leadership. They're looking for direction. So when you give them that direction, I think it's a recipe to win.
So understanding the places you've been and you've been leading teams and everything on a couple different platforms, CPG, tech startup, you're out here doing the work. And that's what we appreciate here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, people that are out here doing the work. So with that being said, I really would like to know, I guess the question is, what do emerging leaders often overlook when it comes to the team's performance?
There's a book called The Multiplier. And I would highly suggest, whether it be audiobook or whether you want to read it, I highly suggest you get it, right? The basic premise of the book, The Multiplier, is essentially this: toxic leadership, and people miss this, right? Because the old ways, folks think that leadership is all about delegating everything and telling folks what to do and being the only person talking in the room. Well, the basic premise of the book is essentially this: you have two types of leader. You have that person who sucks all the air out of the room, that person who's all the ideas have to come from that person. They think that that's leadership. When in actuality, the multiplier is someone who seeks to multiply him or herself. They understand that not only should they not be the smartest person in the room, but they should be the person doing the least amount of talking. You present people with the objectives, and this is essentially what leaders do. Here's where we are, team. Over there is where I think we need to be. Now, you guys give me ideas on how we're going to get there. And stop talking, get out of the way, and let your team begin to add value, right? So that's the first piece. I'll give you one more here. Um, it's vitally important to understand that diversity is everything. It is everything. Not just diversity in regards to race, but diversity in regards to gender, religion, race, because that allows new and innovative ideas to really come in. So when you look at this book called The Multiplier, you begin to understand that to get the best out of people, begin to multiply yourself, begin to allow them to lead.
You brought up diversity. That's a lane that I've operated in, and I find the the point that you bring up intriguing for a couple different reasons. It's interesting because leadership right now with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives being under attack. IBM just got slammed this month with, for encouraging diverse business practices in their hiring slate, right? So for leaders that are looking to still engage diverse talent, are looking to still be supportive and cover all the talent pools, do you have any suggestions for them on how they can kind of work under the umbrella that currently exists?
Yeah, listen, I think always you should have diversity in the back of your mind, but that doesn't mean you need to necessarily announce it, right? And I think we get so hell bent on announcing it and putting it forward. Look, you hire people and bring folks on based on their qualifications first and foremost out the gate. But no one is stopping you from looking in diverse places, right? No one is stopping you from sourcing people from diverse sources. So, for example, I think there's 100 and you got fact check me on this. I think there's 120, 130 HBCUs in the United States right now. You know, those HBCUs are a wealth of talent, whether it be in IT or uh, management, uh, strategy. They're a wealth of talent. I'm not saying just look at HBCUs, but look at diverse sourcing ways of sourcing diverse folks, right? Instead of necessarily saying, "Hey, it has to be diverse." You don't need a program to be diverse.
I can appreciate that. Shout out to all the HBCUs out there.
For sure.
Lincoln, Cheney, Delaware State here in the Philadelphia area. We appreciate you. Hey, speaking of HBCUs, it's HBCU spring coming. I think it's going on right now. Indeed. How come you didn't call me? I've done HBCU spring coming for you the last 3 years. Call me and have me do what I do over there. Anyway, the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live on WPPM 106.5 FM, Philadelphia. Hey, Lawrence, real quick, how can someone demonstrate leadership before they even have the title?
Yeah. Begin to make decisions in your organic life. Too often times, whether it be in our personal life or even our work life, we don't have the courage to make decisions because the human experience says, or what we've practiced, I follow what other people tell me to do, right? Let's say you are the executive assistant. Make a decision and make suggestions. That's what leaders do all the time. So begin to strategize and plan, write down key objectives, right? And then begin to share your decisions with others. And what you'll find is sometimes, most of the time, your decisions just may make sense. And those leading you will begin to follow you. Make decisions and don't be afraid to do so.
You know, we're future focused here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, and this executive leadership series, a lot of it was about that, right? Informing our listeners on what's happening. Because one of the things I appreciate about leaders like yourself, their ability to see what's next, maybe even a couple steps down the road, right? So when you think about the future of work, what leadership capability will matter most when it comes to building high performance teams?
Yeah, the I think the one capability that's going to be most important is your ability to communicate. Your ability to communicate both verbal and in writing, right? That's going to be super important. It's kind of interesting because we've come full circle. We've gone from, the 1950s, 60s, 70s, where written communication was the norm, to the digital age where this sort of shorthand texting, shorthand speaking, became the norm. And now that we've gone through COVID and we've really sort of settled on this sort of virtual environment, well, seems that we're back to the original, which is written and verbal. You have to have the ability to write and to speak. And one of the things that really helps you with that is be a voracious reader. Listen to NPR radio. Listen to the Kenneth L. Johnson show, right, on a consistent basis, and feed your intellect, feed the way that you speak. Um, it's all going to be super helpful in this digital age and this future coming up.
You know, I can appreciate that. We at East Coast Executives, we've kind of doubled down on what we call the realness of this conversation and in the workplace right now. So we've been talking about real jobs, real resumes, real candidates. There was so much technology that flooded the market space with the advent and the usage of all of these AI tools. I really started believing that we were having conversations with bots. We were having conversations with someone else's LLM model, and that was what was happening. And we were doing it on our side. I'm not going to say that we weren't dropping something in the chat or Claude and saying, create a reply to this message and sending it back out, right? And then they were dropping that reply into a model and sending it back out to us. And eventually, I just had to start picking up the phone. Now, getting out a little more and just building the relationships that way. And that's traditionally how I've done it. And that's the way I believe I do it best. And that's the way we kind of made our name out here. But I understand completely what you're saying. Real communication with real people. That's the signature line in leadership.
It is. And what you'll find, and I'm sure what you found, is making those connections, it still works. It absolutely does. It still works. It's not old school, new school. People still want to be connected to other people. Just too often times folks just don't know how to do it because we've gotten away from it.
It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live, WPPM 106.5 Philly. We are here talking with CEO and founder of Digital Factory, Lawrence Griffith. Dropping gems for us today. I really appreciate it. Lawrence, as we start to land this plane a little, what is the most important leadership decision that you've made while building a team? And let me rephrase that. I want to say when building a team.
Yeah, the most important leadership decision that I've made is something that I said earlier. I began to surround myself, connect myself, and build community with not folks that were exactly like me, but folks that I wanted to be like. Nikki Giovanni once said, you should only surround yourself with two kinds of people that you are like and people you want to be like. I follow that second rule, right? I tend to surround myself with people that I want to be like. And I would say if you truly want to be a great leader, well, you have to begin to build community with those folks that you respect as leaders.
You're at the home of career, culture, and community. That's what we do here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. So I appreciate the nod from someone like yourself. All right, let's just get into it real quick, man. We're coming down the stretch, but I want to talk about this. You built a company called Digital Factory, and I want to encourage our listeners to check in on the work that you guys are doing over there. Tell us a little bit about that organization.
So a Digital Factory really is the next generation of data analytics company. And essentially what we found is it doesn't really matter what your business vertical is. All business verticals, consumer packaged goods, fast food, department store, they're all looking for accurate data. What we've done is we built software that causes normal geofencing to be accurate, which is only accurate within 500 to 1,000 feet. We've caused it to be accurate within 5 feet. Historically, we plugged that into the back end of a native app like Walmart, for example, and Walmart can now put what we call micro fences anywhere in the world they want remotely. Sample use case, they could put it in the driveway of every junior high school within a mile radius of a Walmart. So if any of the 150 million app users that have the Walmart app and they have us plugged into the back end, they drive in to pick up their children 3:30 every day. They cross that micro fence that's sitting in the driveway. It's going to cause the Walmart app to open and talk to them first, even if it's hard closed, delivering contextualized one-to-one content that's needed, that's utility-based. So that's essentially what we do. Now Walmart knows their actual conversion rate. And then on the flip side with Dwell, same tech, different application, Dwell begins to help Walmart understand where you spend your time. It becomes a measurement of that, and which becomes an inference of what's really important to you. So that's essentially what we do. And we package all that data up and we digitally deliver it to our large enterprise level customers. We work with everyone from the Ford Motor Company to Live Nation globally, foreign governments, Blue Cross Blue Shield, CVS, and on and on and on.
Wow, impressive work. I was speaking with Cam Ward. He is the president and founder of Black Men in Tech. And they often say that there aren't a lot of Black people, let alone Black men in tech. And when I see brothers like you and Cam doing the work that you guys do, I have to say that, all right, maybe there aren't, but we have some people in leadership that are pushing people in that direction. That's exciting work that you're doing. It sounds really exciting. You seem enthusiastic about it. I can see how you brightened up just when we start getting in that digital factory.
we like what we do. We like what we do.
Always, man. Listen, speaking of liking what we do, Philly, I want to talk to you about this. We like what we do each and every Monday here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, 2 p.m. But the thing is key. If you can't ride with us at 2 p.m., you can go over to YouTube and watch this episode and every other episode of the Kenneth L. Johnson Show on our YouTube channel. It is available to you. And stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook. You know what we do is the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, your place for career, culture, and community. We're here with Lawrence Griffith. Listen, 646-600-8510. If you want to drop a question in real quick, I might be able to get it to him. We got about 2 more minutes, so I'll probably deliver that a little late, but that was me being selfish. I wanted to talk to Lawrence. I wanted to take the time up on this particular session. Lawrence, all right, so as you're building out Digital Factory, let me know, what are you looking for right now? I understand the startup environment. People typically are looking for talent. So what's exciting in that world for you right now?
Yeah, listen, when we talk about diversity, to sort of some of my earlier comments, it doesn't matter whether you're 60 or 26. Diversity is something that we live. I say that to say this: if you are a retired person who wants to get back into the tech game, or whether it's tech or HR, we have a full HR department, whether it's marketing, we are looking for folks who are really interested in high growth technology. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a tech person. There are different roles that you can play as it relates to what we do.
Talk to him. What's the web address?
The web address is dgtl-factory.com. That's David Girl Tom Larry -factory.com. And then you can go to the careers page and see what you like.
Peek around, man. It's all about finding out information. We provide information here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Listen, before we close, I always like to give what I call the future of work brief, Lawrence. I'm going to keep you up here when we do this thing. High-performing teams, they're not built on talent alone. They are built on clarity, standards, and accountability. This is what we're seeing out here. One of the biggest gaps in leadership today is the inability to define what performance actually looks like when expectations are unclear. Accountability becomes inconsistent, and teams struggle to execute. Mm-hmm. Leaders who build strong teams do 3 things well. This is what I'm seeing in my search business. This is what I'm hearing from these leaders today. They set clear standards. They reinforce those standards consistently, and they address the gaps in the system. And also performance really early. If you want a high-performing team, start by asking yourself a simple question. Is performance clearly defined, or is it assumed? Because what gets defined gets delivered. Kenneth L. Johnson, the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, delivering for you each and every Monday, 2 p.m. I'd like to thank our guest today, Lawrence Griffith, for hanging out with us. I'll be transparent, ladies and gentlemen. I consider Lawrence a friend. Really have the opportunity to share some conversations with this gentleman, and I love what he stands for and what he does. And he has just leveled up our platform just a little to allow us to continue to do the work we do here at WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. Until next Monday, stay locked in. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. We appreciate you.
Take care.